Are we sure Oregon is good? Are we sure? Like, I think Boise State's actually pretty good, and I think Oregon beating Boise State, when we look back on it at the end of the year, going to be looked at as a good win. But I look at how much they struggled with Boise State. I look at how much they struggled with Idaho, which they absolutely had no business struggling with. I look at Dan Lanning saying, we're trying different offensive line combinations. We're not sure where we're at on that. Are we sure they're good? Or are they just still figuring it out?
Here's the thing. If the Boise State game existed on its own and they would have beaten Idaho 59,
I wouldn't be saying this at all.
We would not be talking about this.
So they're going into the Oregon State game against a team that is righteously pissed off at their entire program, that would love nothing more than to shove it right up their what their feathery butt.
Sphincter.
Yeah. I'm doing it like a duck.
Yeah. Feathery butt. Oh,
yeah. But Oregon State wants nothing more than to humiliate them in the most public fashion.
Yeah. The spread has moved from 13.5 to 16, I think. So, people the money's flowing in on one side.
For Oregon to break out, to be the team that we think can compete with Ohio State, can win the Big Ten. Are we sure we're going to see that team?
No, we're not sure. I don't think we can be sure, because coaches and people have told me over the years, and I'm sure you've heard 100 times, Andy, and even people in my life, if somebody is telling you who they are, believe them. And at a certain point, you have to start believing them. Now, I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, but if Oregon beats Oregon State on the road by 3, and it's just like another game like the one that they've had the first 2 weeks,
that's what they are,
then I think you go into it with a recalibration of what you think they're going to do in the Big Ten. But that said, I think what this also could be, and what I think is more likely, this is my opinion, they had a clunker in the first game of the season because it was Idaho and they just weren't playing well. And then it's possible that they just played a game against a team that's fired up, who happens to have one of the best players in college football on their team.
Number 1 on my Heisman list after the second week. Yeah.
And they just played a really good game, and that happens sometimes, and then they could beat Oregon State 59-20. Because I always feel like, too, if you go look at Oregon's past schedules and stuff, like Oregon has a few of these games where it's like, what the hell is that? And then they follow up with 55-10, 42-6, and then they play Washington State 38-24. That was last year. It's just like, what happened? It's like, I think that it happens. I'm not there yet, but I did move them down. I didn't move them down at all in the bubble watch or my top 10 after week 1, because I'm like, but I did move them down after the Boise game.
Yeah.
So I think that this is, first of all, a rivalry game. So I think it's inherently interesting to a lot of people, but 2, I think this is very interesting because we need more context of what this team is, but I don't know how a team that has the 2 receivers that they have in Evan Stewart and Tez Walker on their team cannot be good in offense. Like, I just can't, it doesn't compute to me.
And the problem is they've not figured out the right 5 on the offensive line. Our friend Jeff Schwartz, who played offensive line in Oregon, played in the NFL, he broke the tape down earlier this week and said there's just a lot of mistakes. And he said there's a lot of mistakes on their D-line too. Mental errors, things that just shouldn't be happening right now.
Yeah.
So Dan Lanning addressed it. He said they are trying to find the right combination on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe they do. Maybe they figure it out. And
did you watch their games thinking their O-line was having problems?
Yeah.
Like, it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, kind of like,
yeah, because like that line, like you look at Josh Connerly and Johnny Cornelius, and those are NFL bodies at tackle. And you're just like, why can't you just blow open some holes and take control of this game? Like, why is this continually back and forth like this? Why don't you just start dominating? And that's the thing. We expect them to be dominant.
Oh, they only had 109 rushing yards in that game. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of throwing. It had a fumble recovery that helped them a lot. They had a special teams play that was huge.
Some grab ass in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've not been dominant yet on both lines of scrimmage. And we came into the season with the assumption that they would be. So I need to see it. So now this week against the Beavers would be a great time to show us that before you hit Big Ten play. Just say it, because I'm not sure you're good yet. I would like to see it. Corvallis is a great place to show it. All right.
Okay.
What is the ghost pepper of those takes?
Okay,
The
so-
Wendy's saucy nug ghost pepper of those takes.
So here's the thing. I think that the Colorado take is actually the mildest.
You're right. It's the sanest.
It's just
it's facts.
factual
Yeah.
statement. So, and it depends on who gets it. And then the other two were Billy Napier, and the first one was
The Oregon one.
I think that your sauciest ghost peppery take is probably the Oregon one, because I think that the other
they're
two,
probably good.
I think they're probably good. And I think that early on in the season, I have a tendency, and a lot of people have a tendency to overreact on the positive when teams get off to a good start. I don't know if I am at the point right now where I'm questioning whether or not Oregon is the second or first best team in the Big Ten. And the other thing too is that your takes, your Colorado take and your Florida take, are interesting and real. But I agree with you, and I think that they are so
I think
based in
most people
fact
agree with me on that.
That hot take to me is just like you think something that nobody else thinks.
Yeah.
And if you think Oregon is not who you thought they were, then to me,
I'm worried.
If you are worried, that would be the ghost pepper.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.